Do you know people who are vigilant and focused on risks and dangers? People who sometimes even seem suspicious or show paranoid traits? Do you want to learn how to deal better with this kind of people? Or do you sometimes wish you were more capable of perceiving risks yourself? The psychological key to understanding these character traits can reveal itself in the guardian archetype, in the tradition of Jungian psychology. We give you this key and tell you also how to recognize the personality archetype of the guardian and its unbalanced manifestation, the paranoid personality disorder, and give you some tips on how to deal with this type of person in an optimal way. At the end of the video, we also tell you how an unbalanced guardian or someone suffering from a paranoid personality disorder can bring their personality back into balance. The archetypal guardian and the paranoid personality disorder in 10 points. As explained in the intro video of this series, it is important for a healthy psychology to focus not only on the pathological manifestation of a personality trait but also on its positive qualities. Therefore, we will take a closer look at both the paranoid personality disorder and its positive counterpart, the guardian archetype. All the characteristics of an archetype can be derived from its personality traits, or the so-called meta-programs, which in turn can be derived from their position and correspondence in the meta model of the psyche according to Stefan Fiebig. The special feature and strength of this archetype model is that it represents the basic structure with which the 14 personality archetypes are simply and unambiguously defined and classified with their personality traits. It is a natural and logical structure that can be used for numerous applications such as, for example, a model of effective communication, for hypnosis, coaching or psychotherapy. And it can reveal also useful cross-connections between them. As an example, we will show you right away the links between personality archetypes, the hero's journey, and the structure of any successful undertaking. Point 1. What makes the archetype of the guardian tick? The archetypal guardian belongs to the choleric as well as to the sanguinic temperament. He is focused on risks and dangers, not because he is afraid of them, but to eliminate them. His basic needs are safety and his own survival, as well as the survival of others. He is therefore committed to identify and eliminating risks in order to provide or restore safety. The guardian archetype is convinced that the world is dangerous. He usually cannot trust other people because he thinks they have hidden intentions. He does not forget past threats and problems. Point 2. The strengths of the guardian archetype. The main quality of the guardian archetype is vigilance. Guardians can quickly identify risks and problems and eliminate them. They are also able to examine results critically, especially regarding possible problematic consequences. Point 3. The guardian's weaknesses. The guardian archetype tends to be suspicious. For them, it's difficult to put confidence in someone, especially when they do not know the motives of their counterpart. Therefore, they regard criticism rather as a threat and attack and rarely in a positive way. Point 4. How to recognize the guardian archetype. There are some characteristics that allow us to recognize the guardian archetype as a personality trait. Since he has his focus on problems and risks, he talks about them much more often than about possibilities or opportunities. He is concerned with exposing what he perceives as a problem or misdeed. In addition, he talks very little about himself, as he does not want to give away anything that could be used against him. On the other hand, he collects a lot of information about others. In his undertakings, he proceeds only in small steps, as he needs time to both identify and analyze any possible dangers and to critically examine what he has just achieved. Simon Wiesenthal, the Nazi hunter, as well as Tomás de Torquemada, the first Grand Inquisitor of Spain, are clear examples of the guardian archetype.
Schauen Sie, die Geschichte eines Volkes ist keine Fahrt mit einem Autobus, wo man auf einer Station aufsteigen kann, dann eine Promenade machen, spazieren gehen und wieder einsteigen, wo es einem passt. Man muss alle Stationen durchfahren. Und es gibt natürlich Österreicher, die im Jahre 38 gerne aussteigen und im Jahre 45 in den Autobus wieder einsteigen möchten. Und da ist der Sternfried Wiesenthal, der erinnert, was in den Jahren zwischen 38 und 45 passiert ist.
Furthermore, all whistleblowers, such as Julian Assange and Edward Snowden and all conspiracy theorists, also represent the archetype of the Guardian.
But what about, your core values? Can you give us a sense of what they are and maybe some incident in your life that helped determine them?
I'm not sure about the incident, but the core values, capable, generous men do not create victims, they nurture victims. And that's something from my father and something from other capable, generous men that has been in my life.
Capable, generous men do not create victims, they nurture victims.
Yeah, and, I'm a combative person, so I'm not actually so big on the nurture, but some way, there is another way of nurturing victims, which is to police perpetrators of crime. And so that is something that has been in my character for a long time.
One of the extraordinary parts about this episode is that usually whistleblowers do what they do anonymously and take steps to remain anonymous for as long as they can, which they hope often is forever. You, on the other hand, have decided to do the opposite, which is to declare yourself openly as the person behind these disclosures. Why did you choose to do that?
I think that the public is owed an explanation of the motivations behind the people who make these disclosures that are outside of the democratic model. When you are subverting the power of government, that's a fundamentally dangerous thing to democracy. And if you do that in secret consistently, as the government does when it wants to benefit from a secret action that it took, it'll kind of give its officials a mandate to go, hey, tell the press about this thing and that thing, so the public is on our side. But they rarely, if ever, do that when an abuse occurs. That falls to individual citizens, but they're typically maligned. It becomes a thing of these people are against the country, they're against the government. But I'm not. I'm no different from anybody else. I don't have special skills. I'm just another guy who sits there day to day in the office, watches what's happening, and goes, this is something that's not our place to decide. The public needs to decide whether these programs and policies are right or wrong. And I'm willing to go on the record to defend the authenticity of them and say, I didn't change these. I didn't modify the story. This is the truth. This is what's happening. You should decide whether we need to be doing this. You can't come forward against the world's most powerful intelligence agencies and be completely free from risk, because they're such powerful adversaries that no one can meaningfully oppose them. If they want to get you, they'll get you in time. But at the same time, you have to make a determination about what it is that's important to you. And if living unfreely but comfortably is something you're willing to accept, and I think many of us are, it's the human nature. You can get up every day, you can go to work, you can collect your large paycheck for relatively little work against the public interest, and go to sleep at night after watching your shows. But if you realize that that's the world that you helped create, and it's going to get worse with the next generation and the next generation who extend the capabilities of this sort of architecture of oppression, you realize that you might be willing to accept any risk. And it doesn't matter what the outcome is, so long as the public gets to make their own decisions about how that's applied.
The Guardian archetype can be confused with the archetype of the king, whereas the unbalanced form of the king is narcissism, or the narcissistic personality disorder. There is also a risk of confusion with the warrior archetype. This is the archetype associated with the dissocial or antisocial personality disorder. Point 5. What are the Guardian's reactions in conflict situations? The defense mechanism of the Guardian archetype is avoidance. He avoids acting in an unbalanced way by avoiding the key stimuli. It also means that he consciously avoids risk, for example, a dangerous area. Point 6. the guardian in mythology. The guardian archetype, like all personality archetypes, is the basic pattern of human experience. We find the archetypal guardian in many myths and fairy tales. For example, in Mesopotamian myth of Inanna's descent to the underworld, she meets Nidi, the guardian of the 7 gates of the underworld. In Egyptian mythology, Anubis represents the guardian archetype. He was the guardian of the realm of the dead and the tombs. He supervised the embalming of the bodies. His task was also to judge the dead by weighing their hearts against truth and justice. In biblical mythology, we find Nathan as the embodiment of the guardian archetype, among others. Nathan was a prophet when David was king. He confronted David because the king had caused the death of Uriah, one of his most dedicated and best soldiers, in order to marry his wife. In Greek mythology, we find Hades as the equivalent of the guardian archetype, who is the ruler and guardian of the underworld, as well as Cerberus, Hades, 3-headed dog that guards the gates of the underworld, and finally the Sphinx, who lets only those people pass by that can solve her riddles. In the mythology of King Arthur and the Holy Grail, we find the Green Knight as the archetypal guardian, who challenged other knights in order to test them. He then killed all knights who failed his test. In modern myth, we also find the guardian archetype. In Harry Potter, Mad-Eye Moody corresponds to the guardian archetype, and in The Lord of the Rings, Elrond and Beron are the embodiments of this archetype. In Star Wars, Admiral Akbar, Mace Windu, and General Grievous are also guardian archetypes.
You can see here the Death Star orbiting the forest moon of Endor. Although the weapon systems on this Death Star are not yet operational, the Death Star does have a strong defense mechanism. It is protected by an energy shield, which is generated from the nearby forest moon of Endor. The shield must be deactivated if any attack is to be attempted.
Proximity alarm!
It's a trap!
The oppression of the Sith will never return. You have lost. No. 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 I am going to end this once and for all.
You can't. He must stand trial.
He has control of the Senate and the courts. He's too dangerous to be left alive.
In Game of Thrones, Jorah Mormont embodies this archetype.
We need to get back to the wall. It's a long march. We know what's out there. But we have to make it. Have to warn them. Or before winter's done, everyone you've ever known will be dead.
Point 7. The Guardian and the Hero's Journey. In every project or venture we undertake, we have to assess and control the results to make sure that we really have achieved our goal. In order to be successful, we therefore need the ability to see potential problems that might cause an inadequate result. Anticipating this is the characteristic of the Guardian. With the mythological structure of success, the hero needs the skill of the Guardian, especially during the 10th stage, when the hero returns to the world with his special gift, in order to pass it on. The characteristics of the Guardian enable him to check who is worthy and qualified to receive the gift. The mythological figures we mentioned earlier in point 6 are good examples of people who have the ability to critically analyze people. For instance, the Egyptian god Anubis is the weigher of hearts during the judgment of the dead. By the way, you can find out more about this stage of the hero's journey in our video series about the hero's journey. Link in the description. Point 8. How can you recognize a paranoid personality disorder? If you can recognize the personality archetype of the Guardian in a person, it will certainly be easy for you to recognize his pathological manifestation, for his personality traits are even more pronounced and turn out accordingly negative. The ICD-10 describes the 7 characteristics of a paranoid personality disorder under classification F60.0. In addition to the characteristics of a specific personality disorder, see the link in the description, the person must meet at least 4 of the following 7 criteria in order to be diagnosed as a paranoid personality disorder. The DSM-5 301.0 describes similar criteria for the paranoid personality disorder. The first criterion is an excessive sensitivity to rejection. The second characteristic is the tendency to hold permanent resentment. This means that insults, injuries, or disrespect are not forgiven. The third is distrust and a persistent tendency to distort experiences by misinterpreting neutral or friendly actions of others as hostile or contemptuous. The fourth criterion is a combative and tenacious sense of self-righteousness out of keeping with the actual situation. The fifth characteristic consists of recurrent suspicions, without justification, regarding the sexual fidelity of the spouse or sexual partner. The sixth characteristic is constant self-referentiality, especially in combination with strong arrogance. The last criterion is the frequent preoccupation with unsubstantiated thoughts of conspiracies and explanations for events immediate to the person or the world at large. Maybe we'll make a video about personality disorders later, perhaps in an extra channel. Simply subscribe to our channel, and when the time comes, we will let you know, or subscribe to our newsletter. Please find the link in the description. Someone who suffers from paranoid personality disorder is one of the typically difficult personalities. If the boss, spouse, or life partner, a parent or child suffers from this personality disorder, it is usually quite challenging for the environment. So the question arises, how to deal with a balanced or unbalanced guardian? Point 9. Here are a few initial tips. In order to deal well with a guardian, it's important to understand that he has difficulties to put confidence in others. So you should not expect a leap of faith, but rather inform him about your intention and all the details he needs to get an overall picture of the situation and the risks and problems involved. Since the guardian archetype often perceives criticism as a threat, you should be especially diplomatic when giving him negative feedback, and you should make it clear to him that you talk to him as a friend, not as an enemy, and that you give your feedback to him so that it may help him to resolve any problems. If he himself criticizes you, you can and should take it as a sign of his interest and commitment to you. If you want to learn more about how you can better recognize and understand this archetype in yourself and in others, and how you can develop the positive aspects of this personality archetype in you, and how to overcome the negative aspects, and how you can deal optimally with people in whom this archetype is strong and perhaps unbalanced or pathologically developed, whether in therapy, business relationships, or in private life, then we look forward to meeting you personally at our seminars on the personality archetypes. Point 10. How can someone with a paranoid problem bring their personality into balance? If the paranoid person wants to bring their imbalance into balance, or if a well-developed guardian wants to expand their skills, or if you want to balance your inner personality archetype of the guardian, it is advisable to develop the complementary archetype of the guardian, namely the archetype of the visionary within oneself. Unlike the guardian, the visionary is not focused on problems or risks, but on their goal or their vision to achieve it. The personality archetype does not strive for safety, but for meaning. To learn more about the archetype of the visionary, watch the video about it on our channel. Do you see yourself as a guardian? Do you know people in your surroundings to whom this personality traits correspond? What do you find particularly difficult in dealing with these people? Which well-known people, real or fictitious ones, with the characteristics of the guardian or those corresponding to the paranoid personality disorder, do you know? Tell us your answers and ask all your questions in the comments. We will make a video at the end of the series in which we answer your questions. We are looking forward to your comments. If not done already, like and share this video. Subscribe to our channel and activate the bell to always be up to date. Thanks a lot and see you soon!